Thanks for watching Halftime TV. This is Leon Bailey. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Hello, welcome back to another episode of Halftime TV viewers and subscribers. And we have with us today the Football DNA podcast, and they're making their inaugural appearance on the Halftime TV show. And this evening we have a big topic for you, because I know over the last couple of days and the last couple of weeks, as a matter of fact, the transfer window has been going crazy. But for the Jamaican fans, no transfer so far this season has been as big as the news that Mason Greenwood, yes, Mason Greenwood, prodigy out of the Manchester United Academy, will be representing Jamaica in the upcoming months and years ahead. May very well be the standout player for the Reggae Boys come the 2026 World Cup, should the team get there. But before we even go into any of that, we have a lot to discuss, and we will be dissecting it. We'll be going into all the intricacies and all the angles that there are to explore on this very topic, because it is one of controversy. It is one that will turn heads, and it's one that may very well divide the Reggae Boys fans because of the baggage that Mason Greenwood comes with. All right. So again, big shout out to everyone who's tuned in with us this evening. Football DNA podcast. Sorry, over to you. What's popping? How are you doing today? What are your thoughts on what's happening with the Reggae Boys team and with their new addition?
First of all, thank you for having us. Football DNA podcast, new to the platform. So definitely appreciate you bringing us to get our opinion on the matter on hand. Yeah. So, yeah, obviously a big talent. Obviously, we all know one of the most technically gifted footballers coming out of the Manchester United Academy. He saw his talent and everything. He came through, rose up very quickly, to be fair. Very talented, scored a lot of goals, had the swagger of a superstar. But like you said, what comes with his talent is a lot of baggage. And obviously, everyone is familiar with what had transpired and everything. We don't need to get into the nitty-gritty of that. But just knowing that Reggae Boys, we've been looking for that standout player that's going to be the decisive player for years now. We've had many runs, World Cup qualifiers, Gold Cups, you name it, and just, the inability to find that superstar-like player. So it's been talked about in, different corners all over the world about him trying to switch his allegiance to Jamaica. And for us to finally see that news break, and, with everyone know the top guy, journalist right now, Fabrizio Romano, when I saw that on my TV this morning, on my phone, sorry, I was very surprised, but happy at the same time. But it clicked right away. This guy, with the stuff that he's carrying in behind him. I feel for the guy, superior talents, very supreme talent. And for him to be dealing with all this thing going on, but I don't know if it's the right move, not to get too biblical, but I mean, like you said, like the topic read, is hypocrisy or redemption? Everyone deserves a chance at the next level, but for all we were fed, the news and everything going around, is it the right time? Is it the right move? All the other players out there, he's going to come in the squad and walk straight ahead of them. There's so many things to digest, to be fair.
All right. Thanks for your opening remarks on the situation. Big up yourself, Lee Young. Welcome to the channel. Is it a definite confirmation? Well, based on the news that we've been seeing coming out of the United Kingdom, it sure appears that way. The news indicates that Mason Greenwood has now accumulated all the necessary documents required to represent the Reggae Boys. We're still following that story. We won't come out and say definitively that Mason Greenwood will be on the Reggae Boys squad, but what we can say is the indications are definitely pointing in that direction. Now, I think this, and again, throughout this live stream, I will be playing devil's advocate, and I'll also be typing in the comment section as well, the Football DNA podcast link. So those who are joining us can go on over and support the channel, because I very well want to see them do well. Some wonderful content on their channel, folks. So please go out and check out that content. But with the Mason Greenwood situation, and I've always been one who is very critical of everything that plays out on the British scene as it relates to football, as well as on the local scene. Personally, I don't think Jamaica has enough quality playing in the local Premier League to be competitive in the World Cup qualifiers. But that's my opinion. I've been paying attention to the local Premier League. Right now, most of the talent, they're in one place, right? Most of the talent are playing for one club. And what that means is the other players who are representing the other teams, it's almost as if like you don't get a look in, right? You don't get a look in because the best team in the league, all the best players are playing for that team. And for those players who aren't starting in that particular team, who knows? They may very well not even get an opportunity to showcase their talents for the senior coaches. But back to the Mason Greenwood situation. And for those who aren't fully aware of what transpired, and I know Football DNA podcast said they would not be backtracking, but how we like doing it over here at Halftime TV, we like presenting you with all the facts. We like to give you everything, and then you form your opinion based on the information that you received. All right. So for those who aren't aware, someone even messaged me a little bit earlier this evening and asked me if it is a big deal and what's the story surrounding Mason Greenwood. This is a non-football fan. This is a basketball player. However, he tunes into Halftime TV, and simply because he saw it making the rounds on social media, he reached out and wanted to know what's the deal with this guy. Who's this guy? So Mason Greenwood, standout player at the Manchester United Academy, promoted to the senior team, banged in some big goals as well for the senior team. One of the brightest talents, as Football DNA podcast said, that came out of the Manchester United Academy out of recent years, and that the English team, and yes, I said English team, they were looking to. They had big plans for him. They were looking towards him. Phil Foden, Mason Greenwood, they were supposed to be the next big things in the English senior team, right? Now, Mason Greenwood had a situation with his partner. She released some videos, some voice notes, well, some pictures and some voice notes of him basically threatening her. She on the photos, there were bruises, there were cuts, which she indicated that these were caused by him, right? The voice notes that were released as well pointed in that direction. He was locked away for a couple of days/weeks. Then he was on house arrest. So he was basically still arrested. And then subsequently, the case was dropped, right? After a couple of months, the case was dropped. And based on what we have been hearing and have been reading, the couple is now expecting, or I think the child is supposed to be born by now, but they were expecting based on what I heard the last time, right? So full roller coaster, typical toxic relationship kind of vibe. So that's what transpired. No, outside of the man and woman or boyfriend and girlfriend, or however you want to put it, outside that, there was the club, the image, the national team, and the image surrounding that as well. Now, if you know anything about Manchester United and anything about England football team in particular, you know that the optics is more important 99.9% of the time than the actual truth, right? So if it looks a particular way, the club will oftentimes sever ties with the particular player. Now, in this situation, it didn't look good on Mason Greenwood. All indications, he did what the young lady said he did, and as a result, Manchester United basically they put him in purgatory, put it that way, right? So when the case was dropped, they ultimately shipped him out of the club, and he ended up in France. Now he's been playing in Marseille for the last couple of months, and as things stand right now, he is the top goal scorer in the Ligue 1, ahead of Bradley Barcola, who represents PSG. So Mason Greenwood currently on 12 goals in the French Ligue 1. Bradley Barcola, that youngster you saw like running City around in rings yesterday. He's second on 11 goals. So now that everyone is up to speed and you know what we're dealing with, Mason Greenwood has been basically the Reggae Boys and the Jamaica Football Federation. They've been showing interest in Mason Greenwood for quite some time. And when there was an opportunity, the slightest chance for him to still represent the England national team, he basically was holding on to that. So now it seems as if all doors are shut and we're hearing this story. So over to you, Football DNA podcast. Doesn't this seem a little bit suspect, the timing of him choosing to switch allegiance now and to represent the Jamaica national team? And I always say this, and folks, they put it how they want to put it, and there are some folks who even call the English players football English rejects or what have you. But I personally feel as if players who they understand what is at stake. They understand what is at stake. They put out more effort when it comes to it. And there are some people who just want to go knock somebody. You want to play at the World Cup, the opportunity stands for you to represent Jamaica. So you just go and you knock some ball for Jamaica. But if Jamaica doesn't make it, you don't have to say anything to anyone on the street because you live in England, you walk on the street, no one even cares that you represent Jamaica. For those who have to come home, you go in the supermarket, people are going to ask you about it. All right, so what are your thoughts on that? I think I've been going on for a minute, so I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. So yeah, I actually think with the timing of the World Cup coming up in 2026 and him having whatever you make of it, I would say a breakout here in France. It's a classic season he's having so far. His overall play has been brilliant all season. I've watched him closely. I think he has something like 3 assists, 12 goals. He's very integral to the Marseille setup. But I think if he had another 2 years or 3 years to build back up to his level and to show that consistency over the course of 2-3 seasons, then it will be more of an easier gamble for him to take, or risk, if you'd like, for him to take leading up to a World Cup tournament. But at the end of this year, you're going straight into the next year, and then in the blink of an eye, it's summer and then it's World Cup time. I don't think there's anything he could do now in France that could put him higher up the pecking order or to change the narrative around everything that's been happening with him in the past few years. I think it's a little bit too late. And like you said, rightfully.
Quick question. Before you even go any further, say he finishes this season, top goal scorer in the French League, maybe say racks up 25 goals. Is that enough to warrant him a call-up? Do you think he will get a call-up for the English national team? And we saw with Omari Hutchinson as well, where he came and he represented Jamaica in a friendly, and then he went back to England, had a couple of good games, and then they called him in the England under-21 setup to play again. So knowing England, they usually cup-tie players, right? So they see that you're doing well, they bring you in, give you a game or two, and then you can't represent nobody else. Is there still a chance of Mason Greenwood representing England?
There's always a chance with the level of player he is, the caliber of talent Mason Greenwood is. I think there's always a chance, right? But I think him skillfully calculating his chances on both sides, pros and cons, right? Looking at the situation that took place, looking at how he's playing right now, right? The time frame, the other players in form, especially in his position. Even though he's quite a versatile player, he can play anywhere across the front three or even an attacking midfield position. However, I do believe that with the likes of Phil Foden, the player he is, even though he's not in top form at the minute, Bukayo Saka injured, but we know him, the ilk of a Bukayo Saka, right? The pedigree of the other attacking talent the English setup has. You can go as far as Anthony Gordon. You have a lot of players who are playing themselves in form, and the pecking order is long. So to see himself fighting in that, and those other players don't have the baggage attached to their names like he does, I think it's a calculated gamble that he's taking to skip away from the national setup in England and just to try and test the waters in Jamaica. Like you said, there's not much of a gamble going to Jamaica. He's already an established pro. He's at the top of his game. Jamaica need that type of talent. So if anything, it's gonna be an easier transition, less pressure. And who knows? There are a lot of optimism around Jamaica getting through because of the way that's being paid for them to qualify. No, I think there's a way for him to go into the national setup in Jamaica, impact the team, probably bring some of the players up to his level, the likes of Bobby Reed, D. Cordova Reed, Leon Bailey, and to name a few.
Okay. So the fact that the England national team, they basically turned him away. They basically turned their back on him because of the baggage. Is Jamaica making the right decision in basically welcoming him with open arms? What kind of message are we sending to the sisters and the daughters who will be going out to the national stadium to support the Reggae Boys? Are we then a nation where, regardless of the situation, because we want to win these representatives, because when you go out there and you put on the national color, whether it is you're a politician, whether it is you're an athlete, you're a representative of the Jamaica national team, you're a representative of Jamaica. Are we saying then that we're okay with football players because they're football players abusing females? Do you think it's sending the wrong message, for lack of a better term?
I can see where it can be perceived as such, to be fair. Along the lines of good character and citizenship behavior, it doesn't flow well or bode well with what we as Jamaicans stand for, right? But like you said, we've seen, and not to take it too local, we've seen there's a lot of talk when we were growing up in school where people always talk about the Dakasta Cup players going to school. They're the ones who never had good grades. They're the ones who skip classes. They're the one who indulge in bad behavior, right? So it's always this thing associated with footballers at the highest level and at the amateur level where you don't not necessarily associate good character and good behavior with majority of football players. That's prevalent in Jamaican society, as we both know. However, I don't think across the board that we as people of Jamaica stand for that. I think they're just more or less looking at it like the topic reads: redemption. He's proved himself for the past 5-6 months in France. He's playing well. It seems as if he has.
From a footballing perspective, though, playing devil's advocate,
Yeah.
How do we know he's redeemed himself?
Behaviorally, there's no way. There's no way for us to prove that behaviorally he's a different person and that he has learned anything from what transpired. I do think, though, from a football perspective, the level at which he's operating, Jamaica is looking at his level of talent as something that could change it for us, right? The comment that came in said Mason Greenwood will stop crime in Jamaica anyhow him start score goal. We Jamaicans live in the moment a lot, so I tend to believe these things are truthful. However, on a larger scale, I do feel as if he should come and put his print on the national team, produce what we've been waiting for. It will galvanize the group of people in the country, and it will, for certain, change the way how people look at him. If he could get involved, indulge in the culture, people will look at him in a different way. Obviously, we are familiar, with some of the, the criticism and the stuff that come with the British media. Not to say a mistake in England is not a mistake in Jamaica, but when you make a mistake on those grounds, the mass media and the type of attention that some of those things get is different when you compare to someone who does the same thing in Jamaica. Not to take away from the magnitude of anything that he has done, right? It's damaging for anyone to know, but I just feel as though it could be redemption. Likewise, it could be hypocrisy, right? It just depends on how we look at it. But from a football perspective, I do think his talent warrant the chance, if I'm being completely honest. But as a nation, it can be damaging.
Well, I don't think his talent was ever in question, and I'm gonna go over to the comment section now because I know folks have been in the comment section sharing their thoughts. So let's go through some of these questions before we get back to the discussion. I know most YouTubers, they're super excited, they're super happy that Mason Greenwood is coming to represent the national team. They don't care about anything outside of the football. But again, we have to look at it beyond the football, because Mason Greenwood is beyond football, right? He's not just a footballer. And what we saw in England when this news broke out was a lot of the females saying they were going to boycott games, stuff like that. They were protests outside, that sort of thing. So no one is above the law. No one is above the law, and we do not condone violence against women. We don't condone violence against anyone for that matter. But again, in this situation, we condemn violence against women. Lee Young said that Mason Greenwood, you should draw a parallel with Benjamin Mendy. Well, Benjamin Mendy's situation was a little bit different from Mason Greenwood's. It was a little bit different. Why the JFF are call up no good angling? Not yet. Okay. Well, in this situation, Joshua angling situation, like similar situation. But as I said, like going to a player who was turned away because a country didn't want the baggage, and taking a player who was already a part of the setup is two different things, right? So one player was turned away because another country didn't want the baggage, basically. Because had this situation not transpired, I promise you, Mason Greenwood would be a part of the England setup, right? It probably would be Manchester United top player this season. Is this Mason Greenwood? Is moot? So this means let me be this. All right. So continuing, because as we continue to dissect this situation, I personally think it's one of those. Everybody is saying that he did this and he did that. Are they certain that he really did what they say? Well, his partner came out and she released voice notes that were clearly him. She released images of herself. And I think there was a short video as well. With him in there. So didn't deny it. He didn't deny it, and the case was dropped because apparently they got back together. My word, Jamaica, welcome top strike, and let us kick out England teeth. Know yourself. All right. So we've spoken about the hypocrisy bit. Let's speak about redemption now. How can Mason Greenwood start fresh with the Jamaican national team? Because we know he had some challenges with the England national team. Went out once. He and Phil Foden brought back a couple of females to their rooms while they were in camp. At one point, they got thrown out from camp. How does he redeem himself? What does he need to do right to get back on track with the Jamaican national team?
I do believe that currently the setup has a lot of experienced seasoned pro playing abroad, obviously, especially in England. What I don't see on the pitch is a lot of leadership, to be fair. I see a lot of individuals, a lot of people picking up the football, trying to do their own thing. I don't see a unified team trying to operate as one unit. So if he can bring some of that professionalism and just try to promote unity among the group, maybe he can stand out as that leader that the team is so lacking just now. To be fair, I don't see an individual there that's grabbing the team and pushing the team to higher heights. The team lack that ilk at that level. Leadership is very, very crucial to do things that seems impossible sometimes. Qualifying for a World Cup is no small feat. That's why we've only been to one in the past 30 odd years, right? So an established pro like Mason Greenwood and just that added level of quality that he possesses can maybe get others to look up and say, well, we have some quality in this locker room. Let's galvanize as a group, get together and go out there and just work hard for each other, and then you might see some unity coming together in this team, because it's completely lacking at the minute.
Yeah. All right. How important, because again, Steve McLaren and his connections with Manchester United, Mason Greenwood and his connections with Manchester United as well. And one, even the blind could see the parallels there with the influence McLaren played in getting Mason Greenwood to come and represent the national team. We know the Jamaica Football Federation has been doing everything they can over the past couple of years to get Mason Greenwood's signature. However, Steve McLaren, as soon as he puts pen to paper, we heard in his interview where he said we want the best players to represent the national team, etc., etc. And then a couple months down the line, we now hear that Mason Greenwood is over the line. How important do you think the new coach for the Reggae Boys team was in this process of getting Mason Greenwood to switch allegiance for Jamaica?
I think it's crucial. Like you mentioned, he was a part of Manchester United. You know, he already has that. He's been a part of that football club, and I'm sure the established relationship with Mason Greenwood would have been key in convincing him to switch allegiance. However, I do think, like you said, it's important, but the majority of the reason behind it would have stemmed from his personal situation, regardless of what relationship him and Steve McLaren had prior to the incident. Obviously, we all know he would have been a English national footballer. So that's the main thing. But now that you have a chance to redeem yourself, the situation is what it is. It can't be no better than to go play alongside or under the tutelage of a manager that you already have an established relationship with, right? A sense of identity, because the Manchester United DNA is already there. The goal now for me, and I'm going to move away from just the relationship a little bit, is just for Steve McLaren and Mason Greenwood to work in tandem now to try to create an environment, right? Similar to one that Mason Greenwood and Steve McLaren was a part of from those times at Manchester United, at the Jamaica Football Federation. Just try to galvanize it and create that type of atmosphere, because as great as he is as a talent, you still need him to bring that leadership, which is what's so lacking at the minute, to be fair, right?
I feel as if, and we talk about leadership, we talk about folks allowing their football to do the talking, and we've seen it with Demari Gray, who he allows his football to do the talking. Leon Bailey hasn't been at his best for the Jamaica national team. I think we can all agree he hasn't had the best of seasons so far this year for Aston Villa. But Mason Greenwood coming into this setup right now, does he walk right into the team? Again,
I think so.
Demari Gray, been impeccable, been immense for the Jamaican national team. Leon Bailey, not so great. And Leon Bailey plays on the same side as Mason Greenwood. Do we fit all three of them in there? Will we be seeing a 4-2-3-1 with Mason Greenwood, Leon Bailey, and Demari Gray, and maybe Shamar Nicholson being the striker? Well, Mikel Antonio, I don't think he'll be fit anytime soon. But do we fit all three of them in there, or do you think we'll have to replace someone in that attacking position to accommodate Mason Greenwood?
That's actually a really good question, because I feel like now we're talking about this, and Leon Bailey, like you said, he hasn't hit the heights of last season. Demar, since the first game for Jamaica, you already see what he brought to the table, and he's kept those levels up throughout, right? You don't know what you're gonna get with Mason Greenwood, but if we were to gamble, you know the level that he brings, right? His adaptability, his versatility across the front line as well. Slightly different player from a Leon Bailey, who is more effective coming off the right onto his left foot. With Mason Greenwood ability to shoot with both feet, set piece, off the dribble, he could play in behind as well. He's pretty diverse for attacking footballer. So I feel like it's easier to integrate him into a lineup and to play alongside those other two players. But it would be a tricky task. I feel like we're lacking terribly in midfield. So how do you set up? Are you going to put all those attacking talents in front of a double pivot that's not able to control a football game? Because then again, that's important. You're going up against experienced international footballers. You need to know how to control games. The attacking talent alone is not going to be able to do it. So it's up to McLaren to know how he's going to integrate all those attacking talent at his disposal.
All right, sounds good. Sounds good. Let's take another look over in the comment section and see what the viewers are saying. Franklin Young, I live in Panama and Jamaica team values about 10 times the Panamanian team, but Panama plays better football. We need to play as a team. Tigana saying active. Big up yourself, Tigana. Franklin, I fully agree with you. And hopefully in the next couple of months, because I won't even say in the next couple of weeks, because the games that are upcoming for the Jamaica national team is more to see the local players. The games will be played at Catherine Hall, and I think one will be played in the jungle. That's the Arnett Garden sports complex there. So there are 2 games. Mostly local players will be selected. So look out for those games. And if you're in Jamaica, please go out and support the local players. Some good football happening in the Jamaican Premier League, but nothing special, if I'm to be honest. Nothing special. I am curious to see what those games will look like, because I think the level is very low. It's gone down a notch, if I'm to be honest, over the last couple of years. But anyway, we'll be wrapping it up here, and we'll be inviting the viewers and subscribers to share their thoughts in the comment section. What are your thoughts? Did the Jamaica Football Federation make the right decision? Is this the right call? Getting Mason Greenwood with all his baggage to come and represent the Jamaican national team. Right now, I think him being shunned from the England national team because of the baggage, and the Jamaica Football Federation desperately needing to go to a World Cup is primarily the reason why the JFF are welcoming him with open arms. Regardless of the situation, they want to get to the World Cup, and they want to get to the World Cup at all costs. Football DNA podcast, I know you have something to say about that, so I'm going to turn it over to you so you can share your thoughts. And for those in the comment section, again, remember, subscribe to the Football DNA podcast. I'll be sharing the link in the comment section, and I'll be pinning it as well. So it'll be the first comment under the video. Maybe not the first, but it'll be the one pinned, so you know where to find them. This video will also be shared on both platforms. All right, so Football DNA podcast. Had this not been the case, let me just be frank with you. Is it that the Jamaica Football Federation is overly desperate, and as a result, regardless of what you come with, they're welcoming you with open arms?
I would say yes. The decision to welcome him now is yes. Yes. They're gonna welcome someone of his ilk with open arms, regardless of the situation. Yes.
Okay, so that means if it wasn't that good, if it weren't that good, if we're talking about someone with the talent of, I don't even want to call any names because I don't want anyone to feel disrespected, but not so great of a footballer, but looking to represent Jamaica from England as well, do you think that person would have been welcomed as well? Because personally, I think whenever players in England show interest in representing Jamaica, regardless of the situation, the Jamaica national team, they're quick to accept.
That's exactly what I was just about to say. I do feel like a few of the international footballers from England recently, not quite cutting it, but they're there. But like you said, the added baggage obviously changes the dynamic of the conversation.
All right, we'll leave it at that. And again, people, let's hear what your thoughts are in the comment section. The conversation will continue. It's not going to stop here. We're just initiating it. We will continue talking about it in the comment section below. And who knows, we may very well be over on the Football DNA podcast tomorrow. Bank of Japan, I just anticipated. Congratulations, Leon. Make that money, as I'm sure Mason Greenwood is making now in Marseille. But shout out to everyone who tuned in with us this evening. This was one of the later live streams. We started at 10 and we're going to cut it off right now. So big up everybody. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate all the support. Remember, like, share, subscribe. Football DNA podcast in them hometown. Halftime TV. Happy to accommodate. Until next time, Peace out. We'll talk soon.
Peace. Bless.